Hello, everyone. I greet you in the spirit of peace and love. I hope that you're all well today and that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, that you're finding yourself blessed. I'm Royce Fletcher Thomason, and we're here for another Sunday Hope and Healing session where we offer encouragement, where we offer hope, where we plant virile seeds into hopefully the fertile soil of your consciousness in order to help elevate you, lift your spirits, bring some level of enlightenment, increased understanding, and make you more receptive to dwelling in a state of blessings. A key way that we do that, there's things that I share verbally, but another way that we do that frequently, what also happens in these Sunday Hope and Healing sessions, is actually healing, where we actually utilize a methodology referred to as transcending the matrix, that I feel very, very, very blessed to have been a vessel through which God has brought this work into the earth. I believe absolutely without question that God is a healer and that there is absolutely nothing that is beyond God's healing power. In fact, I don't believe God is a healer. I know that God is a healer, and I know that God is a healer because on a number of occasions, a whole lot of them, I've experienced the blessing of demonstrating God as a healer. And the reality is that sickness, pain, dis-ease is not our birthright. Divine wholeness, oneness is our birthright. To be fully self-expressed, for our bodies to be healthy and vibrant, for us to feel youthful. That is our divine birthright for the entirety of our lives. All right? And so during today's Sunday Hope and Healing session, as you can see, I'm yet in another location. I have been traveling quite a bit lately. So almost always I'm broadcasting from a different location. And I'm in Florida right now, just another city in a completely different part of the state. But we're here to actually share some things with you that most people don't tell you about healing, including your doctors. All right, including your doctors. And so to talk about healing, really healing has to be talked about in the context of why healing is needed. In other words, healing needs to be discussed in the context of pain, sickness, dis-ease, brokenness, problems manifesting in our lives. If those things weren't the case, there would be no need for healing. However, for all of us, there's a definite need for healing. Whether a person is suffering with chronic fatigue, whether a person is experiencing fibromyalgia or congestive heart failure, whether a person has physical pain that they're experiencing in their body temple, whether a person is feeling hard-hearted, whether a person has issues with trusting people, if a person is open to being taken advantage of, if a person has an overly inflated ego, if a person has a hard time making ends meet financially, or if a person keeps finding them in situations where people are mistreating or disrespecting them. All of these things are things that are in need of healing. When we talk about physical things, high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, issues in the liver or the kidneys or the lungs or the heart, whatever the issue might be, there's something deeper that is going on within a person that ends up manifesting as different states of dis-ease within the body temple, right? Within the body temple. And so what happens is that we actually collect experiences. And we collect experiences before we're even born. There are times that you hear things that your mother is going through while you're yet in the womb. You feel things even that your mother is going through while you're yet even in the womb. So there are things that are taking place that are being stored within your cellular memory before you're even born, before you even enter into this earth. And not only that, there are things that are passed down from one generation to another. You might have a family history of diabetes or high blood pressure or of heart disease. You might have a family history of alcoholism or depression or bipolar disorder or some other mental health challenge. You might have a history of things going on within the family that's actually been passed down from one generation to another. I've known of situations where people had allergies, that they developed allergic reactions to certain things at certain points in their lives, when it actually pointed to things that happened in their ancestral lineage. There was trauma that took place within their ancestral lineage that actually ended up showing up and manifesting in the lifetime of someone who the two had never even met. But that was a trauma. There was something that was unresolved, that was in need of healing. Curly Conscious Kings, greetings to you, my brother. Good as always to see you. And I pray that everything is unfolding beautifully in your life as well. Thank you for your wish of blessings and abundance. And so, human beings, we live on planet Earth. We go through different stuff. We end up having heartbreak. We end up having disappointment. We end up having experiences with our parents where maybe they didn't quite see us, right? Maybe they didn't quite get us in the way we needed them to get us. Maybe we had experiences growing up with kids in our neighborhood or that we went to school with, where we might have had some experiences that maybe weren't so positive. And, you know, those experiences, depending on how we process the experience, those memories, those thoughts, those feelings end up actually getting stored within the cells of our body. And depending upon what area of our body those things are stored in and kind of closed off from receiving light and love in that particular area because we were hurt and we want to try to protect ourselves in some way, what ends up happening is, thank you, my brother, what ends up happening is that we actually end up, if we don't resolve the issue, it'll end up manifesting as an issue in that particular area of our body or in a particular area of our lives, right? It'll end up manifesting in a particular area of our body or in a particular area of our lives. I recently heard someone saying, the minister that I know, saying that she had a period where she was attracting a lot of people who lied to her, men who lied to her in her life. And the context is that we only encounter ourselves in life. And she ended up coming to the point where she recognized that although she wasn't really lying to other people in the way that these people were lying to her, that she had been lying to herself. She lied to herself about who these people were. She lied to herself about what she could actually put up with. And then it manifested in these kinds of interactions with this particular type of person. A lot of times we end up experiencing things in my own life. For a long period in my life, I was getting cheated financially in my jobs where I was working, where I was being cheated financially, where I wasn't getting paid for all of the time that I worked. I wasn't getting paid what I was supposed to get paid. And this started when I was a teenager. It started when I was a teenager. I actually was hired by somebody that I actually knew and trusted as a teenager, and I worked a lot of hours that I never ended up getting paid for, earning commission that I never actually ended up receiving. And then that manifested for years, for decades, actually, truth be told. And that was an experience that followed me. There are times where we experience something, and then we keep having these repeat experiences. Sometimes, a lot of times we get tempted to blame other people for what our experience is. And I want to caution us all on that, because it's very easy to think that the problems that we're experiencing in our life, the problems or the challenges that we're experiencing in our lives, are rooted in somebody else. The reality is that they were in connection with somebody else, but they got rooted in us because we allowed that in and we didn't deal with it. We never got to the point of uprooting it. And so if you have a garden, whether it's vegetables or whether it's flowers or fruits that you have growing in that garden, you've got to be diligent to make sure that weeds aren't also growing up in that garden and choking the life out of the fruit or the thing that you're actually wanting to grow in your garden. And if you just chop off the weed at the top of the weed, or even at the bottom of the weed, or even just beneath the surface of the ground, that weed is going to continue to suck the life out of the things that you want to see flourishing in your garden or in your life or in the garden of your life. And so if you want the things to truly flourish that you want to see flourish, then what you've got to do is you've got to get rid of the weed from the point of the root. You've got to completely uproot it so that it's not choking the life. See, a lot of the things that happen in our lives that we experience the fulfillment of or the outpicturing of in our lives are things that are happening deep beneath the surface. Using this analogy of weeds in the ground, it's the roots that are sucking the life out of the plants or the fruits or the vegetables that you're wanting to grow in your garden. In a similar way, it's the root of things deeply held deeply within our subconscious mind. Things that end up somehow getting embedded within our souls, right? That end up choking the life out of the things that we would like to see grow and blossom in our lives. And it is so easy. It's so easy to get caught up in a moment and to engage in the blame game, blaming other people for what our problems are. The reality is you might have experienced some problems in connection with other people, but as long as you're experiencing the problem, it's not their problem, it's your problem. And so you have the responsibility of seeing to it that your healing takes place. And so if you've got a condition like gout, or you've got a condition like cirrhosis of the liver, or you've got a condition like high blood pressure, or you've got a condition like swollen ankles, or back pain, or headaches, migraines, or whatever other condition or situation you have going on, you can go to the doctor and they'll treat the symptoms of that particular thing, typically by either cutting something open and or giving you a pharmaceutical medication. You say a pharmaceutical, giving you a pharmaceutical that in all likelihood is going to have some contraindications or some type of side effect, some type of effect that's going to maybe help something in one direction, but not help it in another direction, right? And so, I just recently was talking with someone, and they were sharing about a loved one who had a heart attack, and then it ended up being uncovered that the heart attack was actually connected to a medication that they were on for an area of their body that was totally different than the heart. But the manifestation of them taking this medication to help one thing actually caused worse problems in another area. And so the reason being for that is that that medication that's synthetically fabricated in a laboratory is not going to get to the root of the real problem. I have seen time and time again, and I've experienced it in my own life. I've experienced it in my own life, and I've also been blessed to be a vessel of healing in other people's lives. I'm very thankful that God uses me in that way. And so I've seen time and time again, like I said, within my life and the life of others, situations where there's one thing going on in the body or in the particular area of life, whatever area of life that might be. But the root of the issue was something totally different. I share sometimes a story of a lady who'd been limping for months. She had a bike accident and had been limping for months, putting ice or heat on the ankle, keeping it elevated. These are all things that are suggested to do, right? The typical things that you do in that kind of situation. Even having a surgery on it. Those weren't things that were going to get rid of the root of the issue, because the root of the issue with this particular lady was when she was 13 months old, her little sister was born. And she was no longer the only girl in the family and no longer the baby. We got that resolved and she walked out without a limp. First time in 3 months. There's a person that I dealt with who had a lot of back pain. We did some healing. What the root of the issue was some unresolved things in connection with her mother. Right? Now, the physical manifestation was that she had degenerated discs between the vertebrae of her spine, that there was bone rubbing against bone, and there was a pinched nerve. Now, those were things that were manifesting physically. But the root of the issue was this unresolved issue with this lady's mother. In a treatment session, we got that resolved. And the woman's pain went away. Her pinched nerve stopped being an issue. The space between the vertebrae increased. There was open space there, and no longer bone rubbing on bone. Right? And so that manifested physically. People, in a worldly sense, want to call those things medical miracles, right? Call it what you want to call it. I don't think ultimately those things are miracles. Ultimately, those things are signs and wonders. The real miracle is the changed heart. The real miracle is a transformed heart. Okay? And so I've been blessed to see a lot of manifestations of healing in people's bodies and people's minds and people's spirits, right? For a lot of different things, a whole lot of different things, like all across the globe. And I'm not saying this to give myself any kudos. There's a scripture that says, unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain that build it. If God doesn't show up, the healing doesn't happen. I'm not the healer. I'm thankful to be a vessel of healing, however. If God doesn't show up, the healing doesn't happen. However, I'm very, very thankful that God has shown me a methodology of bringing to people's awareness what the root issue is in terms of the challenges that people are facing with their health, whether that's their physical health, mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual health, right? It's a way that I feel very blessed to serve on the planet. It's a gift. It's a gift I've been able to share with others, but it's most certainly a humongous gift to me to be able to share this with people and to have my own mind opened, my own spirit elevated, my own consciousness transformed, my own heart purified. That's where the real miracle is. And so we have, for instance, training that we make available. You know, I'm thankful that God has blessed me to be a vessel of healing for thousands of people all across the globe. in a way, I'm even more thankful that I get to share with other people how to access it. You know, there are a lot of people who might in a church service or something receive healing. You know, there have been situations where a lot of people have come to see a particular person, if you will, to receive healing, but that person doesn't necessarily share the juice with other people in terms of how to access it for themselves. You know, there isn't anything particularly special about me. The same thing, the same way I'm able to access God's healing power, you also are able to access God's healing power. The potential exists within you too. I can show you how to actually unlock that, tap into that, to be able to allow your mind to see things from a different perspective, from a more holistic perspective in some ways, to be able to get in touch with what the root of an issue is, to be able to actually tap into the presence of God within yourself, to make room for a totally different perspective on this person's well-being to such a degree that it manifests within them. And they no longer have the pain in their hip that they had been experiencing for years, or they no longer have to have the knee replacement or the hip replacement, or they don't have to end up having the surgical procedure to open up a valve leading to or from their heart, right? They don't have to have the spinal fusion. They don't end up having to. There have been people that I've worked with who had like a growth removed. They didn't work with me in terms of the removal of the growth, but who've had a growth removed and never took a pain medication, because I worked with them right after they came out, you know, as they were coming out of the surgery, and they didn't end up having to take a pain medication. There have been people that I've worked with who, hello, mother dear. There have been people who I've been blessed to work with who actually end up having a surgical procedure, and they were told it was going to be a long, arduous rehab process. Worked with them, and then they stunned the doctors. End up getting a second opinion from another doctor who was also stunned and said, "Well, you don't really need to go through rehab. You're doing fine." You know, but not just me. Other people who've, you know, trained in this work. You know, I know a person whose mother got ran over by a car, her own car. Interesting story. Her own car. Her legs ended up not being broken. And this was not a young woman who was run over by the car. Her legs ended up, when I say run over, I mean the wheels rolled over her legs. It was what most people would consider miraculous because of what this person did in terms of this person's healing, utilizing this methodology of transcending the matrix, not buying into or getting caught up in the illusion of this world, if you will, the matrix of third dimensional beliefs of separation and limitation that causes us to see things differently than how they actually are, because through life experiences, we end up, whether we want to own it or not, we end up taking on some baggage. And that manifests in the form of Brenda Michelle. Greetings, good to see you, my sister. I'll go ahead and share that actually Brenda Michelle was the person I was just talking about just a moment ago. Brenda, I don't know if you were here to hear me sharing that at the time or not, that story at the time or not. But the reality is that God is so awesome. I am not the person that I used to be. Many people don't believe that. It's hard for people to believe that I was something other than the man that I am today. It's hard sometimes for people to believe that, even when I tell them. It's hard for people to believe that. It's because of the work that God has done in my life. And a key way that God has worked in my life is through this methodology that I refer to as transcending the matrix. right? And so there are a lot of people that are in the world that are engaged in doing things that are seeking to separate us, fellow humans on the planet. There are a lot of things being done that are spreading hate and animosity amongst people. There are a lot of things that are being done where the life of one person is seen as less valuable than the life of another person, right? Whether that's based on gender or whether it's based on ethnicity or any other thing, right? You know, I keep hearing about this movie, the Sound of Freedom, right? About human trafficking. You know, there's a lot of foul stuff that happens in the world. There's a lot of darkness that ends up being manifested, right? In terms of the musical industry. And I'm saying this as a person who's had a lifelong love affair with music. In terms of the music industry, you see a lot of stuff that's just like demonic stuff that takes place, right? In terms of the messaging that's put out there, in terms of who's set up as role models and the messaging that they're putting out there, you know, things that are being put out there in terms of brainwashing of children, or where truth is being suppressed in different ways, right? In order to block actual healing from taking place. And so while there may be a lot of darkness that a lot of people might be engaging in, while there may be a lot that might be done to keep us fighting amongst ourselves and each other, you know, at each other constantly in different ways, I believe that it is the purpose and the intention of God for us to dwell in a state of unity, harmony, love, and peace. And so this is a way that I get to do that, because I get to be an African American heterosexual male who's Christian. And I can actually end up being a vessel of healing for a person of an entirely different culture, entirely different religious background, entirely different financial status, different political leaning, different sexual orientation, all of these different things. And the healing is able to be made manifest in a spirit of love. In a spirit of love, even though they may live in a different part of the country or different part of the world. Greetings to you, my sister. It's so good to see you here today. I was thinking about you just the other day, just 2 days ago, I think, maybe 3 days, may have been Thursday. So it's good to see you in the space. And so I confess that I'm not even always as diligent. Trisha C, good to see you in the space today, tuning in from YouTube. There's room for me to be more diligent in sharing, getting this word out. I mentioned earlier about the manifestations of physical healing not really being miracles. Medicine will categorize it as medical miracles, right? To me, that's not the real miracle. I said earlier, to me, that's really just signs and wonders. Signs and wonders, what's the purpose of signs and wonders? The purpose of signs and wonders is to get people's attention. Why get people's attention? Get people's attention to hear the message and receive the message. What is the message? I do this work of healing for a much deeper reason than for a person to not have to experience physical pain in their body. I engage in this work of healing for a much bigger reason than for a person to become free of a tumor. I engage in this work of healing for a much bigger reason than for a person to no longer have to deal with high blood pressure. I engage in this work of healing. One, because a lot of times if we're focused on stuff that's challenging us in the physical, we're not as focused on more important spiritual things. But beyond that, I'm on a global peace mission, endeavoring to spread a spirit of love and understanding and compassion amongst human beings. That's the messaging that I'm here to bring. And so God has blessed me to work with, whether it's as people who are receiving healing, or whether it's people who are training from all different walks of life, all different religious backgrounds, all different educational levels, all different political backgrounds, right? Different ethnicities from different parts of the world. And I'm very, very thankful for the wonderful privilege of doing that. And yet, I still feel like I've been holding back. Like there's more that needs to be shared. I need to be sharing this more with more people. So more of us can be operating from a greater state of freedom, from a greater state of wholeness within ourselves. Because when we're healed, it's not just us that's healed. The more healed and the more whole we are, the less problems we cause for other people. It's in our brokenness that we engage in behaviors, that we have mindsets that result in us engaging in behaviors that end up negatively impacting other people, that end up playing into their brokenness, that they end up passing down to their children, to their grandchildren, to their students, to the people that they encounter when they're at the grocery store, when they're on the phone with customer service, when they're just out and about interacting with people, in their marriages, in their parenting, in their interactions with their siblings, right? The more broken we are, the more we pass that brokenness on. The more healed we are, the more whole we are, the more we share that wholeness with other people, and then give them a space where they can experience their healing as well. And so, although I've not actually taught a class all year, aside from a meditation retreat that I was blessed to facilitate last month in Niagara Falls, this is the 20-year anniversary of Transcending the Matrix. The very first Transcending the Matrix class took place in a hotel ballroom in Southfield, Michigan, September 26th through 28th, 2003, right? 5 people in that training. This year, September 29th, the last weekend in September, September 29th through October 1st, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're going to have two things actually in one. A 20-year Transcending the Matrix celebration and reunion, and for people who've already been through the training, and a class. All right. The beautiful thing about this is it's going to be all remotely via Zoom. It doesn't matter where on the planet you are. If you're in Michigan, if you're in Florida, if you're in Texas, if you're in Hawaii, if you're in Brazil, wherever you are on the planet, it doesn't matter. If you're in the DMV, wherever you are on the planet, you'll be able to actually participate in it, but you need to communicate with me. I want to be able to reach as many people as possible with this work because I want to spread as much love as possible. I want to spread as much healing as possible. I want to share as much from what God has shared with me that has transformed my life in so many ways and allowed me to become a much, 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 much more peaceful person than I was in previous points in my life. I was not always a happy person. My default facial expression is a smile these days, but I've not always been a happy person. I've not always been a peaceful person. There are times I had a lot of anger in my life. I'm not that person today. I live in a state of a lot of peace for the most part. Right? People feel peace in my presence. I want people to experience that in your presence as well. I want people to be able to experience the benefit of your wholeness, the benefit of the renewing of your mind, the transforming of your perspective, the purification of your heart. right? The more people are more healed, the more people end up being benefited from that. The more people end up being benefited from that. There are people in the past that by being asleep, that by being cut off, that by being caught up in whatever my issues were, end up and having negative experiences on other people. I'm basically just doing penance, people. Wanting to reverse that and bring healing to as many people as possible. And to train as many people as possible to bring healing to as many people as possible. My ultimate goal is for there to be a healer in every home on the planet. Somebody who is able to stand in the gap as a vessel of pure love and divine light. As much as possible to be a completely clear and open vessel for God to move in and through, to be a blessing in the lives of other people as much as possible, to be as profound of a blessing as possible to as many people as possible, right? That's what my desire is. That's what my goal is. You interested in joining me on this journey? Right? The harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. The Master Jesus said. There's a call. I'm putting out a call. See my brother in the place. Greetings, my brother. I look forward to seeing you after the broadcast is over. Putting out a call for us to engage in this work and even engage in conversations outside of this work, whether you choose to go through this training, to go through this class, to connect yourself with a community of people who are all about supporting each other, being there for one another in a spirit of just genuine love and service, where you can actually be a support to other people and where you can receive support from other people, all focused around healing and genuine unconditional love, wanting to see you win. I invite you to connect with us. I invite you to connect with us. So, Terry, let's have a conversation. Send me a message. I see that you're watching from Facebook. Send me a message on Facebook. Any of you all can send me a message on Facebook at Royce Fletcher Thomason, or you can send me a message on Instagram at Royce Fletcher Thomason, or Instagram at Transcending the Matrix. Some of you who are here actually have my phone number, so we can connect via phone. If you have actually my phone number, that's actually a better way to reach me, because my inboxes sometimes get a little inundated. But let's have a conversation, and we can see what we can do to make this happen. Again, those dates are September 29th through October 1st. That's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's all day. By the end of Saturday, you'll be able to do what I do. You might not believe it at first, and you might need to see and experience yourself doing it multiple times. But by the end of Saturday, you will experience yourself doing what I do. Over the internet, you'll experience yourself doing this. Or if you have somebody in person with you in your home or wherever you are tuned into the class from, you'll experience yourself as being able to be this vessel of healing, utilizing this particular methodology that I refer to as Transcending the Matrix. Trisha C., you have my number too. Feel free to reach out to me. I encourage you to do so. Again, this class is taking place September 29th through October 1st. The truth of the matter is there are only so many people I could take in the class. So don't delay in reaching out. But we'll get you set up. We'll make this there's an open door that's available for you. I encourage you to walk through that open door. All right. And so I'm going to pretty much get ready to cut this short at this point. We're not going to go the actual whole entire time right now. But what I do want to put out there is if you are a person who is experiencing any physical pain anywhere in your body, if you're a person who's experiencing emotional pain respective to any particular area of your life, a lot of times we have a format where during the broadcast where you can comment, and we're actually do healing during the live broadcast, and where you can actually experience relief during the live broadcast. We've had that happen before on a number of occasions. It's not every week that we do this, but we've actually had on a number of occasions where people have either just been in the chat commenting, or they've actually come on screen or on audio, and we've actually engaged in doing the healing work right on the spot, right during the live broadcast. And they experience transformation of their physical situation, right? Right during the broadcast, okay? And so another thing that I'm looking to do is I'm looking to have some life-transforming conversations. I'm looking to have some of the most profound life-transforming conversations that you or I have ever had in our lives, right? If you want to have this kind of life-transforming conversation, I'm talking about an open conversation where we get into some deep stuff, maybe answer some long-held questions that maybe you and other people have had, maybe had for a very long time, maybe even all your lives. We have this conversation, kind of like a podcast in a way, via the broadcast, where other people can benefit from that conversation. If you're interested in that, whether you're interested in the training or not, also reach out to me at Royce Fletcher Thomason, either on Facebook or on Instagram, or Transcending the Matrix on Instagram, right? Jennifer Bliss, sending a lot of love your way. Good as always to see you today, my sister. By the way, for this Transcending the Matrix class / 20-year celebration that's taking place September 29th through October 1st, we're going to have some awards. We're going to have some awards. I'm not going to announce what those are. It's a secret. We're going to have some special awards for folk who are there. Looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to this. If you know anybody in your life who's dealing with physical pain, who's dealing with some challenges, have them come to the Sunday Hope and Healing session. We can work with them right during the session. I used to charge a lot of money to do a healing treatment on somebody. I'm giving you opportunity to come and get it for free in the comfort of your own home. You don't have to fly to where I am. You don't have to even book an appointment. You can just show up. Now, a closed mouth does not get fed. You can just show up and state your issue, and we'll address it with some healing right on the spot during the live broadcast. Okay? So if you or anybody that you know is experiencing anything like that, share it with people. Share it with people. And in fact, now I know that there's some people who are watching from YouTube. There's some people who are watching from Facebook. Some people perhaps from the Transcend the Matrix Facebook page. Some people from my own personal page. If you know somebody who you feel would be blessed by this, share it with them. Share it with them. There are people, Jennifer Bliss, for instance. Jennifer, I'm going to use you as an example. I don't think you'd have a problem with that. I think you'd be fine with this. Jennifer has shared with Facebook groups that she's connected with. People have ended up coming and experiencing what Transcending the Matrix has to offer. As a function of that, there are other people whose lives have been profoundly touched and blessed. And Jennifer has received an expression of appreciation of that, even financially, for doing so, right? And so is the case with anybody else who's sharing this work. You know, I want this work to be shared so much. I'm going to make sure that you're taken care of too, right? And so if you have somebody who you feel like could use the encouragement, if you have somebody who you feel like will be blessed by this work in any way, share it with them via a text message and tell them why you're sharing it. It's one thing to just share it. People don't actually really respond to things when people just share something, but they don't say why they're sharing it. Share why you think they would be blessed by checking this out. If you're not already subscribed to us on YouTube at Matrix Healing, all one word, Matrix Healing, I encourage you to subscribe to the page. If you would, when we broadcast something, like it. I know that some of you comment on while we're on a live broadcast, but if you would, go back later and comment on something. That actually helps to boost us in the organic algorithm. Helps us to get this message out to as many people as possible, to reach more people, right? I'll be honest with you, that's not even easy for me to ask you to do because in a lot of ways I kind of like to hide in the background. You wouldn't know that because I'm broadcasting it all the time. But my nature is rather shy. Believe it or not, my nature is actually rather shy. But I know that this work isn't about me. I know that this work is about the work itself. And I had somebody tell me last week that it's not humility, it's avoidance in terms of getting the work out, sharing, encouraging people to share this. So, Eugene Mason III, I thank you for that word. Actually, he and his wife, Dr. Andrea Mason, also known on social media as Dr. Dula, we had them on the broadcast last week, checking in by the water side. Anyway, that wraps us up for this week, folks. If nobody's told you today that they love you, know that I love you. Know that God loves you and that you're worthy of that love. I pray that you might be an open vessel for the flowing of God's love in your life and flowing through you to other people. I hope that you might know that you're a person who's worthy of blessings, that you're worthy of love, that you're worthy of joy, that you're worthy of healing, that you're worthy of a state of wellness in your body, wellness in your soul, well-being in your soul. You're worthy of it. Despite the mistakes that you might have made in your life, despite what circumstances or situations you might have found yourself in, at whatever point in your life, you are worthy of God's absolute best. I pray that you'll be open to receive that. I believe that this is a way that you might be able to receive that, certainly not the only way. But I do pray that you'll be open to receive the best that God has for you. And whatever the most fantastic thing you can imagine is, the best that God has for you is better than that. God bless you. I love you as we continue to endeavor to enter into that sustainable state of supreme satisfaction. I bid you a wonderful rest of your day and send you forth with peace and love. Catch you next time, everybody. Thank you for being here.